And if you did trick your brain in a moment when you were nervous to believe that you were actually excited, it profoundly impacts your ability to perform. There is no physiological difference in your body state, physiologically speaking, between being nervous and being excited. Zero difference. When you feel excited, the same thing happens. Your heart races, the blood leaves your digestive tract and goes up to your major organs. Your armpits start to sweat, your throat feels tight, your hands get clammy. Exact same physiological experience, excitement and nervous. The only difference between a situation that makes you excited and a situation that makes you nervous is what your brain is saying about what's happening. Given that physiologically it's the exact same experience, is it possible to trick the brain in a moment when you're nervous and make your brain think you're excited? And if you did trick your brain in a moment when you were nervous to believe that you were actually excited, would it impact your ability to perform? And the answer is yes, you can trick your brain in a situation where you're nervous to believe that you're actually excited. And yes, it profoundly impacts your ability to perform. And the reason can be explained by chemistry and physiology and neurology. If you get too nervous and you start to get too worked up and your thoughts start to spin and your body stays in a fight or flight state, your brain releases cortisol. And cortisol impacts your brain's ability to focus. When you say, I'm excited, even if you feel nervous, your brain buys it and doesn't release cortisol, which allows you to focus on what you need to do. Your brain learns patterns. And even though you may feel stuck, even though you may feel hopeless, you're not broken. You have patterns of thinking and patterns of behavior that are broken for where you are and where you want to go in life. And what's super exciting is that when you start to think about changing your life through the lens of just looking for patterns, breaking them and replacing them, it becomes less personal. I think we make a huge mistake in life. We make the mistake of believing that because our problems are big or because our dreams are so big, that somehow the solution to achieving those dreams or to solving those problems must be enormous too, when in truth it's the opposite. The larger the problem, the smaller the solution. The bigger the dream, the smaller the actions are that you need to start taking. You know, even knowing what I know about the 5-second rule, I believe the high five habit is 1,000 times more powerful. Is because the 5-second rule will help you break patterns of behavior. It'll help you push through fear. It'll help you take action. It'll help you interrupt thoughts. It will help you walk away from things, define boundaries. It's very action-oriented. The high five habit works at a much deeper level. It solves what I believe is everybody's core issue and problem. And that is the issue and the habit of hating yourself, of criticizing yourself, of not liking yourself. And as successful as I've become and as much as I've accomplished, it wasn't until I stumbled into the high five habit that I truly confronted the fact that in spite of all that success, I still didn't like myself. I still judged the woman in the mirror. I was still in many ways betting against myself by constantly beating the hell out of myself, and it was a habit. And so the high five habit is very, very simple. And first I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll explain the story. I'm on a mission to get every single human being on the planet to add high-fiving themselves in the mirror to their morning routine. That right after you brush your teeth, I want you to literally wipe clean your mind, body, and spirit so you don't drag generational gunk and patterns into your day. And it's that simple. Put down the toothbrush, look at yourself in the mirror, raise your hand and send yourself into your day, knowing that you have your own back, knowing that no matter what happens today, you will be here, there to support you and encourage you, no matter what, because you haven't been. There's actually 2 human beings in the bathroom every morning. There's you, and there's a human being in the mirror. And that human being is trying, and they've been there a long time, and they've been waiting for you to wake up and to see them. They're tired of your constant negativity. They're tired of you beating them down. They need you to be more encouraging. They need you to be more celebratory. They need your support. And when you finally wake up and create a moment with yourself every single morning where you look yourself in the eye. It is this remarkably deep spiritual feeling of connection that you've been longing for a very long time. When you allow yourself to understand the depth of what I'm trying to teach you, there will be a paradigm shift that will fundamentally change how you live your life. The hardest part is looking at yourself. 50% of men and women cannot or will not look at themselves in the mirror because they are either disgusted or disappointed with where they are in life. And if you cannot look at yourself in the mirror, that is an act of self-rejection. That is an act of self-criticism. That is an act of self-hatred. That's not just a casual thing you're doing. The rest of us that can look at ourselves, what we do when we look at ourselves is we focus on the things we need to fix. For most women, putting on makeup is not additive. It's not a creative expression. It's covering something up that you don't like. It's changing something that you think is wrong. That action, that intention behind it is self-rejection. It is self-criticism. It is self-hatred. And for so many men, if it's not about your appearance, it's about where you are in life, what you've provided, how much you've made, what car you drive, where you stand in your career, what you've built, what you haven't, the mistakes that you've made. So you stand in judgment. And what is so groundbreaking about the act of being where you are in life, even with all that judgment or that weight or that shame or that regret or whatever it may be that you carry into the bathroom with you based on your life. When you raise your hand to high five the human being you see in the mirror, your brain has neural association with that physical action. The physical action in and of itself is a positive trigger for every human being on the planet. Even if you are in a culture where people do not high-five each other, you have seen sports teams do it, you have seen viral videos with it, your brain knows exactly what a high five is. Just like everybody's brain knows exactly what this is. You don't even have to say a word because all of the positive programming is already hardwired into your basal ganglia, and the physical action alone triggers it. It is neurologically impossible to stand in front of the mirror and actually think something negative as your hand is reaching the mirror because your brain's not programmed to do that. The thing that's super exciting about this is that we're taking programming that is already stored in your mind, body, and spirit, and we're just going to aim it right back at you. And the layers upon layers upon layers of psychological proof, of research, of all kinds of evidence for why this works goes so deep, it's extraordinary. For example, the physical action of high-fiving, your brain has always given you a drip of dopamine. That's why you will immediately feel a boost in your mood. It's why a lot of people laugh. The other thing that happens is you are also tapping into wiring in your nervous system that's celebratory. So when you cross a finish line, for example, or when your favorite team scores, what do you instinctively do? You raise your arms. Shout surprise, you raise your arms. When you say hello, you raise your arms. When you go to high five somebody, you raise your arms. So even on your lowest morning, when you go to raise your arm to high five yourself, your nervous system taps into that celebratory energy that we all so desperately need in life. The other thing that happens that I love about this is you don't need to say a word, because for many people who feel extraordinarily stuck and beaten down and full of shame or regret, you wouldn't believe any positive mantras anyway, because you've got so much evidence for why you're a screw-up, why things aren't working. But when you go to raise your hand, the gesture does all the communicating. And it also taps into behavioral activation therapy, which says, at its most simple form, act like the person you want to become. That's not fake it till you make it, by the way. This is intentional, because when you intentionally act like the person you want to become, your brain sees you taking those actions, so your brain starts to change the way it relates to you. In having hundreds of thousands of people go through this thing that we call the High Five Challenge, we've released it to the public now for 34 days. We've had 136,000 people complete it from 91 countries. Not a single person, because we're tracking all the data on it, has said it didn't work. Not a single person. We have people writing to us about the breakthroughs they're having with depression, with anxiety, with suicidal ideation, with self-worth, with senses of failure, because it's the physical action and the programming that exists within you that go to work against the patterns that are making you feel so dark and stuck. And that's why this is powerful.